presence and participation is for the reunification of North and South Korea.
This inspiration is highly needed.
It's important to take in consideration all aspects, including, we just heard it, the North Korean fears, and that nobody loses face. I don't believe one should be a winner and the other one should have lost the game. It's a question of finding a solution that both can be the winners.
And during this time of the pandemic, we need health for peace and peace for health. The two laureates, Professor Dame Sarah Catherine Gilbert and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, are the heroes who devoted themselves to health for peace and peace for health with their commitment to humanity.
I'm a scientist, and for some years my research has been on the development of vaccines against viruses that are known to cause outbreaks. We can achieve so much when we work together, each bringing our different strengths. The work we did to produce the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine was exhausting and overwhelming at times, but ultimately vital and rewarding. I hope that many young people will be inspired in their career choice by knowing about what we achieved.
Trong miền Aram rục hợp rì rê yang krai lê, đã trở tan chưa tăng chưa một chả chơi lệ pi biên vòn xuân hằng.
Work together with wisdom, sincerity, and resolve. I do believe we can illuminate the path to peace both on the Korean Peninsula and beyond.
Please join me in working, striving, and praying for a Korea that is safe, prosperous, flourishing, united, and finally at peace.
Let Korea's example teach the world that peace can thrive if humanity can collaborate, communicate, and develop together. Kamsahamnida.
In the Korean Peninsula, a fragile truce remains in place since the 50s. Unfortunately, all these efforts produce very little outcome. This makes the 2022 UPF World Summit all that more important and timely.
breakthrough of peace on the Korean Peninsula would reflect globally. If peace will be the cornerstone of every nation and every generation, then the 38th parallel can become a symbol of peace rather than division. I wish that peace prevails in the Korean Peninsula and the entire world. Thank you.
Are doing a great job making any effort to unify Korea, but respecting human rights, having the sense of history that drives you to this effort for unification. This is a win-win process that say nobody will be damaged by the Korean unification.
In this context, the Korean Peninsula could be the ground of an exemplary pathway to peace. In order to have a fruitful dialogue, the strategy should be based on political, cultural, and social interactions responding to the aspirations of both people and regimes.
I am sure that the Universal Peace Federation Summit will contribute to this important process of searching for constructive solutions to a conflict that has been going on for too long.
The people of Kosovo and of South Korea share a similar past of suffering under occupation and of struggle for freedom. Freedom means and seeks peace. And to attain lasting peace, all of us must do our part wherever we are.
이 민족이 세계 모든 나라들이 하늘을 부모로 모시는 자리에서만이 진정한 세계 평화, 자유, 평등, 평화, 통일의 행복한 하늘 부모님을 중심한 인류 한 가족의 세계가 이루어질 수 있습니다.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So one of our traditions as the Universal Peace Federation is to have an introduction to Universal Peace Federation, its ideals, its vision, its activities, at least as much as we can express within a short period of time. But that video shows something, but also to hear from you, the activities you do and the ideals and visions that you want to promote. So we have this introduction, the second Tuesday of the month, each month, and it's great. Whoever comes, there's always a reason why they came, and sometimes we focus a lot on inviting people. Other times, maybe there are a lot of other things going on. But we're grateful for each person who comes, both the people who come online and who are there on Facebook or on Zoom. We're very grateful that you could join us. And if there's someone online who would like to speak also, or on Zoom, then we also, if you are interested, you could say a few words as well. But we like to make a network of activists, people who really want to work for peace in the world. And that network is something which is lively and vibrant, something that can change and grow, and if you invest in it, you can find many good people who can work together, combine their talents, their experiences for a good purpose. So today, I would like to introduce, shall I start with Donat? Sorry, your last name, I can't remember. Donat Kanda. Thank you very much. Ms. from Congo.
Yes, thank you.
Say 3 minutes.
Okay. I will adjust the microphone. Okay. Thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be here. I'm always happy when I come here to meet like-minded people like me who are working, who are focused about bringing peace, lasting peace in the world. I'm the president of a movement called the Movement for the Awakening of Conscience and the Liberation of Congo. Why? Because our country has been invaded and occupied for quite a long time. But also, I'm trained as a diplomat. I complete my study of art in the art of diplomacy, a specialization international organization, the European Academy of Diplomacy in Warsaw, in Poland. So I'm really passionate about, I'm a huge fan of peace. We want to achieve peace in our country, but we need peace not only for the Democratic Republic of Congo, but we need peace also for Rwanda. We need peace also for Uganda. We need peace also for Zambia. So we want to bring a regional peace because we think that the issue of Congo is a regional one. It's not only a national matter. That's why we have been failing for so long time. Many politicians in Congo are failing to provide peace to Congolese people, because I think what Congolese people are lacking, what are their priority, top one priority is peace, so that they can reconstruct their country, they can reconstruct their cities, because we have many cities who have been destroyed as consequences of the 24 years war who have been ongoing for a long time. So many politicians in Congo have failed to deliver peace because they're seeing it just as a national matter. But if you look at it in its dimension, regional dimension or continental or international dimension, because that's where the solution will come from. We know that there are neighbors who are involved in the destabilization of Congo. It's not me who's saying it, it's the UN. So it's something that is confirmed. It has been reported. It has been traced. And then if you want to resolve, you need to face those people who are so part of the destabilization. But we can only advocate for peace because we are not the government. We are just a movement in an organization. Governments have all the mean. Because when I was studying diplomacy, I was thinking that they will only teach us things about peace and negotiation and talks. But I was having many professors who used to be former army. Like some class was we're having people from Pentagon from America teaching us military strategy, teaching us how war are conducted, and they explained that diplomacy is a war without bloodshed, without spreading blood. And war is a diplomacy with blood. So it's like a continuation of diplomacy in another form. But when you are a human being, I think the common sense will lead you to decide for the diplomacy without blood, because it's saving life. Unfortunately, not everyone seeing things like that in the region, actually. We will continue to advocate. We believe that the international community, especially Western countries, can also play a part. That's why our movement, we are very proud to be part of the UPF network, to try to work together, because I think it's only working together that we can achieve this. As alone as Congolese or as a movement, I think we can't, but we need everyone, all of you, working together here in the Western, also to try to sensitize, to conscientize, because Western also can put pressure for Congolese to achieve peace, because we know that what is going in our region have also an economic dimension, and the economic dimension have most of the Western countries have interest. Mobile phone, laptop, everything that we are using have the blood of Congolese inside. So it's a kind of rising consciousness. I said to say that if you are buying your laptop cheaper, you are buying your iPhone cheaper, there are some costs everywhere. And that cost is the war in Congo. I was surprised since now 7 months, since the war started in Ukraine, you can see the world is in crisis. There is energy crisis. There is food crisis. Price have raised, rocket. I would say, have skyrocket. The bills is now a big issue. But when the war in Congo started, the world was becoming rich. So there's a contradiction. You know, when you do the comparison between the two, you'll find so it's like the war of Ukraine brought more attention because people need to stop it, because people can feel the consequences. The world, especially the Western, can feel the consequences, and they will try to find solution very fast. But the war of Congo will last for 20 years, partly because it was not damaging your purchasing power. It was not touching Western purchasing power. Instead, it was making life more easier in the West, because you Western people can take advantage of all the tools and gadgets that is made with the natural resource of Congo, which have been looted, which have not been buy or from a legitimate government or from a legitimate owner, because it have been looted from those poor Congolese who does not have any means to defend themselves. So the economic dimensions have a real ramification and implication of the Western economy, the Western lifestyle, exactly. That's why I think as a new generation in Europe, we need also to say, not in our name. We will not be part of the looting of natural resources of Congo, of the killings of Congolese, because if there are women who have been raped in Congo, people who have been killed, because today the UN say there have been around 7-8 million people who have died in the war of Congo. 8 times the genocide in Rwanda. But it have not yet been recognized as a genocide. And the world is still silent about it. Impunity is still going. So when you see all that, I think we need to all work together. We can't be happy when others are unhappy. In Africa, we say you can't be doing you cannot have a party in your house when it's burning to your neighbor. It's immoral. The multinational companies who are involved in this tricky business of natural resources of Congo should be ashamed. And I think if the national opinions in the Western country start raising their voice, like I see as they're doing for climate, is a good thing. I'm also an activist for climate. I miss the COP27, but I do also fight for climate, because what is happening also in Congo is damaging our climate. Congo have the second biggest forest in the world. We are a biodiversity country. We are a solution for all the climate crisis that is happening in the world. We need to protect the basin of Congo. We need to protect the tropical forest of Congo. But we cannot yet protect it today, because there are a lot of army group militias who are actually in the forest of Congo. That's why sometimes it's difficult to find them, because they are hiding in these forests, which is the second after the Amazon in Brazil, and they are looting it also. They are being they're exploiting natural resource, the exploitation of those illicit exploitation of natural resource does not respect any environmental prescriptions. It does not respect any environmental standard. It does not respect, it's damaging rivers. The ecosystems is also being damaged. So war in Congo is a climate issue. It's an economic issue. It's a human tragedy. And only peace can resolve that. That's why I'm again happy to be able to address you and talk about peace. We still hope. Our hope is that one day there will be peace in Congo, but also peace in the entire region of Africa, because Congo is, for me, I see Congo as a keeper of peace in Africa. If Congo is strong, it can prevent many of the war in other African countries. We can help pacify, we can help bring peace in our region. But we need Congo to be in peace to achieve that mission. Someone who is sick cannot help another one. So we need to deal. Congo is a sick country in desperate of healing, and peace is the medicine that Congo need. Thank you, Robin, again.
Raymond, is anyone online who would like to speak?
We have one person, but it's her first time, so she'd rather not.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So there will be other opportunities, don't worry. But I think it's very true. Congo is a very tragic situation. Yeah. So while we were here, we had many events about Congo in this room, in Parliament, and there are a number of parliamentarians that understand the situation well. But it requires like concerted collective effort. But the final resolve has to be Congolese people working together. There are many faithful Congolese people need to work with. But I found that good people need to work together. So good people in the West supporting good people in Congo, they can shine a light on what is happening, and there are many who already are. Just as more selfish people, both in the West and other parts of the world, and also within Congo, are working together. So answer is really to work together, solve these issues. And then everyone will prosper, I think. Yeah. The Congolese have so much to offer to the world. So I'm going to make a presentation about different principles of UPF and how we work together. Essentially, Universal Peace Federation is an international body. Hello, welcome. Hello. So we're an international body. We're in most countries of the world. Some branches are more active than others. But we work together with different groups, different organizations, forming a network, coalescing around various issues. The next event we have will be on the elimination of violence against women. And that's something we've held that event many times. And that was also, one connection with Congo also was this particular issue. But in a sense, we have to work together on some kind of format that not everyone has to believe in all these principles, but these are some very simple principles that we believe divinity, divine presence, is a loving parental type influence who loves everyone equally. And when we can get our head around that, actually the implications of that, it's incredible. It's actually quite revolutionary, even though it's so easy to say in one sentence. But to love everyone equally, if you want to be a good son or daughter of this divine being who really loves you incredibly, then it changes your life, because you have to start trying to think the way that divine being thinks. So maybe the world should be looked at maybe more in its wholeness, not just maybe centered on Europe, not just centered on the UK, but maybe centered on a worldwide perspective. And how do we find that? One thing is that we need to work together coming from all these different traditions, both the more religious, spiritual, philosophical, to bring these viewpoints together, to dialogue, to think. Because when you meet someone who's completely immersed in another way of thinking, but is very passionate and very sincere about it, by discussing with them, then your mind starts to open to newer perspectives. So one thing we can say is, one thing that unites us is that we have a spiritual nature. That spiritual nature is common to all of us. So we have a mind, we have a body, and we can see that there are certain things that we need, and they're very, very common. We know them very well. Particularly physical things we know very well. When it comes to the mind, the spirit, those things we kind of sense and know more naturally, but we can spend our whole life studying them, thinking about them, reflecting on them, refining them. And the more we realize, the more we understand that we've got a lot more to do. We've got a lot more to do and far to go. But by following them, we can find some inner satisfaction. So people who go through great difficulties, they can also grow and cultivate their mind, even though they're going through great difficulties. And some people who go through physical difficulties, even disability, they inherit a great deal on the more internal side. And some of them who have really overcome have opened doors that I've not considered or valued, but they have really challenged and overcome and learned great things. So the goal is to have a balanced personality, a balanced person whose focus, first of all, is on the more internal side, and secondly, takes care of the physical well-being. We need a balance of these, but the inner satisfaction should come first if it's to be lasting, and if we can cultivate our inner nature. And the more we cultivate our inner side, or our spirituality, the more we can recognize it in others. And we can work with others and help others along their path. Another valuable principle is the value of family, that family very naturally teaches us. So the first 3 years of a child's life is so precious. Those lessons learned in the first 3 years inform decisions all throughout your life. It's most easily, most naturally learned in those first few years. But then later on, you can still learn more and more. But in the first 3 years, things are learned very, very naturally, very openly. And then later on, they're built on and practiced and furthered. But the love and experience that people have, that children have within their family, really nurtures them for their entire life. So, learning from your siblings, the unity and the not always kind of easy because of the different characters that come together, but the bond that can come through with the siblings, if they keep together and really work together, it'll last a whole lifetime and makes an incredible strength because they'll support each other, help each other, they'll turn to each other when they need them, etc. When the parents pass on, they will take care of each other in the best relationships. So marriage then doesn't just end within the home. Marriage creates a family, which creates a unit which goes beyond, wants to go beyond its own boundaries and the garden wall. Because there's often a contradiction. If you have a loving family and you see a lot of pain and trauma outside of your family, then quite naturally someone would want to invest and want to try to help. So strong families have a focus which is higher than themselves. But investing in the community, investing in the wider world in many causes, brings a great deal of blessing to the family. And it's so good for children to see their parents really investing in the wider world, because then they themselves will want to follow in some way. So service to the community brings a lot of blessing to the family. Next, kind of living for the sake of others. As you can see, this has a religious background. Many religious traditions have highlighted this, that we need to live for the sake of others in order to expand ourselves, to help ourselves to grow. So all men are responsible to one another. We should say all men and women are responsible to each other. That if you give, it will be given to you. For the measure you give will be the measure you receive. Give not with the thought to gain, and be patient unto thy Lord. It's a kind of a realm of mystery that when you give out, something always comes back. You can't kind of identify, and it's probably kind of pointless trying to identify. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you can say, wow, that's amazing. I once had an experience here where we were helping a Mongolian women's group. They wanted to do fundraising campaigns to do cervical cancer smears in Mongolia, particularly in rural areas. But they didn't have the chance to build up their group. And the boss, or the founder of this, lived just around the corner. She got to know us and said, could you help us to have a few meetings? and we can set up this group and get going. So we had our first group here, and we helped them with advertising, setting it up. And then I remember sitting down, and I was sitting next to someone that they had invited. I don't know if you remember Maddie Sharma. She has been a long-term friend since then. But Maddie Sharma sat down next to me. We started talking, and we had so many friends in common. It was really amazing. We had so many friends in common. And it turns out that she was on the European Economic Social Council, I think it was, or committee. And she was the UK appointee on that body. It was like a sounding board for the EU Commission. And they had a spanky building in Brussels where they used to meet and so on. They did a lot of great work. And we became friends, and she's spoken at our events afterwards as well, and so on. And we're helping this Mongolian group. They had several events. They started this fundraising campaign, and they got going. Years later, about 3 years later, we were having an event in Brussels. And I think partly it was about Congo. And we're going to have an event in the European Parliament for a couple of hours, and then an event in a hotel. And then to save money, we were looking for another venue to have an event. I happened to speak to Maddie Sharma, and she said, "Why do you have it in our building? You can come into our place. You can use it on the day before. It's okay." And we worked out a time, and she allowed us to use it all day on the basis of the fact that she was a member and she knew us well. Years back, at that time, I thought, wow, this is really like give and take action on a group level. The measure you give is the measure you'll get. I never thought about it at the time. I just asked Maddie because I knew she was working in Brussels. I didn't know she had such a venue. But it was kind of an amazing kind of circumstance. But as life goes on, you kind of feel like there is a being that's a lot smarter than you and knows what you need and when you need it. And our job is just to make it work. So, the path to peace. Giving and receiving has no limits. That's what I wanted to show. So you can give on an individual level, a family level. You can give on a national level. You can give on a world level. So you can be investing in all of these levels, all at the same time. And I think that's what it means to be a global citizen, that we are investing. And our consciousness is not just thinking about my own little existence, but actually, how can we contribute to make this world a better place? It's in different ways. But as we can see with climate change, etc., we have to think on a much bigger level. We maybe we act in a small way, but think in this huge way. But think about ways that we can contribute on many different levels. And then it makes life very interesting, because what you give out always comes back in some way. And sometimes maybe it's not just for you. Maybe it'll be the consciousness of your children, because they'll have seen what you did. Then they'll want to do something themselves. And another thing that we often say is that we have to bring all these different realms of the world together. The religious, cultural spheres, they really need to understand each other well. I think more and more we are learning about each other, and if we don't, then it really pushes against us, because we'll meet someone in our workplace, in our school, in our community, our neighbors, who are from a completely different background. And then we can learn from them. We can learn amazing things. So that makes life really rich. It makes life really vibrant. You know, 1 week you can be celebrating Diwali with all the fireworks, and my mum's at her home and saying, "What's that going on?" I say, "It's Diwali." You know, "What's Diwali?" She's 95, right? So you can talk about Diwali and why they do fireworks. A few days later, we have Guy Fawkes. We have fireworks again. And then we go through all the history of why we have Guy Fawkes. I think I prefer Diwali, actually, as a reason. But there are many, many different occasions which can be celebrated, which make life really rich and vibrant and interesting. So, Universal Peace Federation is, in a sense, is quite broad and open to invest in many different ways in improving life, improving peace in the world. UPF, Universal Peace Federation, has general consultative status at the United Nations. So usually this is given to long-established, very international NGOs. But the idea is that you can bring UN concerns down to the grassroots, down to the national level, and they're looking for groups that are doing it on a worldwide level. So there is a number of programs that we have which celebrate, commemorate, emphasize, highlight UN concerns. And this is a very, I think, a celebrated status to have, and one that I think we need to work hard at, to bring those concerns, those issues, and highlight them and create a forum by which people, as Donat did earlier, talking about Congo. And not everyone knows about the situation of Congo. So someone from Congo can share what it's like to be Congolese and what it's like to go through that, and how we can help to make a difference. Another thing we like to do is to make bridges to other religions, to create this kind of interreligious framework. So to have a papal audience is something. And His Holiness the Pope kind of knew us when he was in Buenos Aires and saw our interfaith work there. So these are different events. World Interfaith Harmony Week is one event that we've held quite regularly. We'll be doing it in first week of February, and we do it as an international organization. There's Cana and Easter, who is in Newham, often spoken at our events. It's a Hindu leader. This is Charlotte Simon, you met last time. There's a Nigerian character education project that we're doing, and they're teaching character education to the whole country. We need to do something like that in Congo. But let's experiment with Nigeria and get it working. And we've been supporting that from here. So we had from up here the Minister of Trade and Investment from Nigeria come, and George Aguri could speak from Abuja. He's the UPF representative for West Africa. he spoke from Abuja about this character education program to this group, this delegation from Nigeria. It's kind of a funny way to do it, but they had a nice dinner here and they could hear about this project. So taught in the West Bank. International Women's Day is something we've been doing for many years, and we'll be doing this on November 15th in Parliament. And Margaret is very passionate about this. Prevention of sexual violence and conflict was also, a lot was about African countries, but it's not just African countries, it's much more widespread. And this was 1 year on from this Excel conference in 2016 that Charlotte and myself attended. Again, this year with other groups at International Women's Day. Youth service projects is something we've been doing. We did twice this year, and we raised money in Watford last October to do those youth service projects. Mark Donfried is an amazing man. He established the Institute of Cultural Diplomacy in Berlin. He's come here, I'm not sure, 3 or 4 times, and also used this premises to have conferences here. Antonio Betancourt, unfortunately, he just passed away, but he was sharing his learning about making peace, about changing adversaries into partners. Just an amazing talk he gave in 2016 downstairs. The video is online. Humphrey Hawksley, again, someone who's spoken up here many times. Again, great experience as a world correspondent. Celebrating Mother's Day earlier this year. These different events. Talking about the idea of networks of transport, bringing people together. The idea of the Silk Roads in the past, they brought people together who would share ideas as well as trade. Because when you trade, there has to be an element of trust, because you want to set up, particularly in the past, you want to set up long-term relationships if everyone's going to prosper. And now this is extending to setting up new networks for the future. So that was this conference. Glenn Ford has been engaging in dialogue with North Korea. He's a British politician, but he's the one who's really invested the most to have dialogue with North Korea. Visiting 50 times. His son studied at university in Pyongyang for 1 year. He's really gone a long way to build the relationships, to be able to dialogue with this 1.5 dialogue of an NGO to government. So we've been hearing about that, and he was speaking with Antonio Betancourt, because both of them had invested a lot with North Korea. Antonio could share how they stopped a war that was just about to happen in the mid-90s. This is another group, Kindness Institute, Kindness, which they had an event here. This is, Dave Anderson. He was very much a person campaigning for peace and to serve people. Anyway, I think these are many different activities that we've had here over many years. Sometimes we have weekend seminars in the countryside in Wiltshire, where we examine these principles and we reflect, we talk, share, and we had amazing times. Ban Ki-moon is also a former UN Secretary General He's part of Think Tank 2022, which is particularly dealing with tensions on the Korean Peninsula. This is something for the World Summit, the different people speaking. So many very high-level VIPs who have been speaking in this. And using these platforms of networks within UPF, we want to, in a sense, to focus on a particular issue and try to find a resolution. And one issue we've been focusing a lot on is the Korean Peninsula. And it's, as you can see from recently, quite a dangerous situation. So to resolve it, it's not just for politicians, but NGOs have to get involved, I think. There needs to be a lot of investment from different groups of people. And it's something that requires a constant investment, because once you take your attention off it, your attention of the world goes to this or that. Once you take your attention off that, then suddenly something happens. So they signed a resolution that we were discussing on August 4th here. How the world can invest in particularly solving that situation. And solving that situation is not just good for the Korean Peninsula, but actually it would bring China and America, Russia, Japan, bring all these different nations together, investing in the Korean Peninsula. If we could do that, it would solve a lot of the tensions the next couple of decades at least. So that's the end of what I wanted to share. I would like to see, would you like to share something? It's a surprise. I know it's a surprise. Actually, before you came up, Donna was speaking, I'd ask others. Just 3 or 4 minutes if you would like to say something. Thank you. Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Angelica Wagner. I'm now the top neuroscientist in the world. I don't really know how I got there. Kind of went from the blonde woman scientist to the top global neuroscientist. So my area of research is addiction, mental health, and suicide, particularly in adolescent children. And I discovered how to adjust people with brain trauma and very serious illness without drugs. So light therapy, sound therapy, orthomolecular medicine, essential oils, like all natural products. So I met Robin, has it been 1.5 years at least? Yes, and was really honored to be to receive a Global Peace Ambassador Award. And I have to say that the collaboration with the Global Peace Foundation has definitely springboarded my career. And the help of Robin and Margaret, who are unbelievably gracious with their time and their care and their network, makes an enormous contribution to your life. So whatever you are kind of thinking about, by all means, do pursue, because it's on a global level. If you're here to serve, then you're here to serve as a global citizen. And when we come with the intention of a true heart, then miracles happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Raymond, is there anyone online who would like to say anything? Sure, okay. So with that, I'm going to end the formal part of the evening. If you ever want to be like a supporter of Universal Peace Federation, you can, if you wish, donate a small amount each month, a very small amount. Everything's okay. But there's no pressure. We're okay. with that, I would like to end our evening, and thank you very much for coming and joining with us. We will have an introduction like this on the second Tuesday of every month. Our next meeting is on November 15th in Parliament on the elimination of violence against women. On November 22nd, we have the Youth Achievement Awards, also in Parliament, where young people who have done great things will be recognized. They will talk about their work. Their constituency MP will come and help present the award, and their families will also join. So it's a lovely event. We will also have what we call our annual Peace Council on December 10th. It's the second Saturday of December. This is also an annual program. And at that, we'll also announce our program for next year, which we're working on. And particularly for 3 months, we'll have more accurately, but the rest of the year we have in draft ready. But thank you very much. And with that, I'll close the evening. Thank you.